It's crazy, Pete. I mean, is there any kimono anymore? Because it seems like the world of college football, the way it keeps on moving, is not just ripped the kimono off or lifted it. It's just burned it. It's done. There is no kimono, right, in college football anymore.
I cover professional football
You do?
with university affiliations.
Right.
That's what it is. And I've always really done that, but it has never been as naked and transparent as it is right now. And that is simply an observation, not a complaint or a judgment.
Of course.
These guys have worked too hard and risked too much for too long to not be rewarded in the ways that they're able to now. And so it is much needed progress. And it's a little bit like there was so many obstacles to get here that now when the dam did finally break, it's a bit of a mess, right? And I'm not saying that there should be, guard. People use these coded words. There just needs to be some rules. Like in the NFL, for example, like Kyler is signing a new contract, and when he's under contract, he can't sign a contract with someone else. Like it's just it is a little bit of a free for all that I think can really be harnessed with a little bit of guidance. But of course, when there's no one in charge of your multi-billion-dollar industry, that makes it a little bit more difficult. So
yeah. I mean, that's the issue here, and that's why I think, not just the money, not just the television contracts, but the want, the need for guidelines and rules when it comes to name, image, and likeness, when it comes to, I guess, what the Division I Council's talking about just transfer period being anybody could go anytime, multiple times, and play right away as long as they have academic standards that are met. That's the reason why there will be super leagues formed, so they could create their own rules that the coaches and the schools in a smaller grouping will be able to agree on, and that will be an impetus more than anything else, Pete. What do you think?
I don't know if there was a question in there, but you went from everything from like an obscure NCAA council to super league. So the breadth of what you commented on was impressive.
Thank you. But no, there was not a question. Well, I guess, what do you think is my question about all that, Pete?
Yes, I think what your thesis underscored that it's a bit of a mess right now, and the lack of there being leadership makes it a bit of an untenable mess. I think one thing that goes missing a little bit, Rich, in this is that the Supreme Court itself actually has sort of paved the way for what this thing is going to look like in the future. And I do firmly believe, and have written before the USC-UCLA move, was that conferences are not going to be subject to antitrust rules, whereas overall NCAA and college sports decisions could be. And so in a sense, Justice Kavanaugh and the crew there gave a roadmap to how college athletics could look. So, for example, if the SEC now decides it wants 22 baseball scholarships, I believe there's 11.7 or 11.9, some number like that now. Like, they can do that, and then it's going to be up to the ACC to decide if it wants to do that. So there's a bunch of proposals right now that are being discussed about limiting coaching positions. Right now, there's obviously 10 staff members who can go on the road and are sort of full-time coaches, and there's a gabillion analysts and such anyway. But, like, why should you limit the amount of coaches who can coach players on the field? I think that's a little bit inefficient and counterproductive, right? Like, if why choose to have a special teams coach, for example, or not have a special teams coach, or an extra D tackle or DN coach or whatever? I think the more coaching, the better. So all these little things are going to be decided, but I think the notion of someone becoming in charge, we need a commissioner, everybody says, we need a commissioner. Well, do you think someone can just magically appear atop the food chain and everyone's going to just listen to them? All these leagues, the commissioners have the most power. They certainly have more power than Mark Emmert, who basically hasn't been woken up from a long nap in about 8 years in charge of the NCAA. And then the NCAA just committees everything to death, right? So this latest, this transformation committee that's meeting, and I hope they come up with proposals that change and clarify and guide the whole enterprise forward. But I've seen about 8 committees hailed to be transformational. So I'm not exactly holding my breath. This is the one that's going to transform it. So I hope they do. But my cynicism has been developed over seeing a lot of untransformational committees, including the Condoleezza Rice one to clean up college basketball 5 years ago in the wake of the scandal, and they still haven't punished hardly anybody from that. So it's it is beautiful game and a terrible business. And I don't see either of those things changing. Thankfully, the games remain beautiful.